Hello, welcome back to Statman Dave Clips. Today we're going to be talking Champions League predictions. Get your predictions in below. Check out SofaScore. Anyway, let's get this party started. The final draw has been made. If you haven't checked it out already, the quarterfinals, Chelsea face Real Madrid, Man City face Atletico, Villarreal, Bayern, Benfica, Liverpool. The quarterfinals pits the winners of City versus Atletico with the winners of Chelsea versus Real. And of course, the other semi-finals will see Bayern Munich or Villarreal versus Benfica or Liverpool. Let's jump through each of the games. We're going to go back into this. Let's start again by talking about Chelsea's game with Real Madrid, and we've just seen that Chelsea will play the second game. Yes, the second game at home. It will be flipped due to the fact that Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid both can't play the first tie at home, and as Atleti are Spanish champions, that gets flipped on its head. Let's have a look at the game from last year, because I feel like that's a really good way of discussing this match for Chelsea and for Real Madrid. So, of course, the interesting side with Thomas Tuchel's setup versus Real was a little bit more 3-5-2 away from home. And I do believe that Zinedine Zidane went for that back three as well. And I think the big advantage, though, sometimes when you aren't a back three team and you face a team that consistently plays a back three, there is that natural advantage of familiarity within the system. And it really felt like that in the opening game between these two sides as Chelsea dominated the midfield. And I think the positioning of Mason Mount, and he's going to be such a key player for Chelsea in this tie. Mason Mount is that kind of player that you could play as a number 10, but in these games against Real, it felt like he was more in central midfield, making a midfield with N'Golo Kante and Jorginho. Jorginho was absolutely brilliant at the Bernabeu in his ability to make interceptions, tackles, control the tempo, completed 90% of his passes, and feel he'll be someone that Real Madrid will have to get on. On to the second game between the sides last season, Chelsea at home. Mason Mount was absolutely sensational, grabbed himself a goal. Timo Werner's energy and work rate was really important getting in behind the defence. And I feel like these games might be quite similar, in terms of the Chelsea counter-attacking, maybe Real Madrid playing with the ball at their feet. For Real Madrid, of course, their route to this part on the competition was a big, big victory against PSG, 3-1, playing that 4-3-3. But for me, that game changed when Camavinga came on the pitch. He sped things up from the base of midfield. Toni Kroos obviously is so good at controlling the tempo, but sometimes it's a little bit slow. So I thought Camavinga sped that up. Valverde was fantastic, and Luka Modric rolled back the years with that brilliant assist in the game. He's someone that Chelsea are going to have to be wary of. I think for me, for this game, Chelsea versus Real Madrid in the Champions League, I'm going to go with Chelsea to progress, but do get into the comments and let me know what you think. Let's move through to the next tie. That, of course, is Manchester City versus Atletico Madrid. Atletico dispatching Manchester United, drawing 1-1 at home and winning 1-0 at Old Trafford. Atleti are sort of getting back into their groove, that 3-5-2 groove that we've come to see from Diego Simeone in the last 6 months seems to be their best shape and system. But I think the big news for Simeone is the form of Jan Oblak, who's massively underperformed as expected. Goals against this season, conceded far more goals than he was expected to, but against Manchester United did really well. 5 saves in the game, 4 claims as Atleti sat deep. I think one of the big things for Atleti, in terms of key player, João Felix was absolutely fantastic in terms of creativity and his involvement in the build-up for the goal. The close control, the dribbling, the back heel as well was absolutely sensational. Antoine Griezmann is, in fact, Atletico Madrid's top scorer and top assister in the UCL, but João Felix very much their key man, and someone that City have been linked with, which is quite interesting. They expect him to play as the nominal number 9. He'll drift off. He'll play as a false 9. For Man City, we've seen at times they've struggled with back 3 defences. But for me, I think City are far too strong for this Real Madrid team. City have, been set up in a number of different ways over the years under Guardiola. Now we're seeing this kind of 4 box 2 shape where they dominate possession. Against the back 5, though, at times we'll have to see an overcommitment from City. City do like to attack with 5 players. We've seen Bernardo Silva's tendency to drift left this this season. But I think one of the interesting things with City is getting, obviously, Diaz back into the game. Maybe Cancelo overloading that back line. We know Atleti are going to defend with 5, so Cancelo's like maybe late movement from this left wing could be really important in opening them up. But I do think for this game, it's going to be all about Manchester City. Key men in the Champions League for them. Of course, João Cancelo is very, very important. But more of, you're looking at Kevin De Bruyne's pressing. And also in big games lately, he's been absolutely fantastic. Dominated the Manchester derby. He's created the most chances for City in the Champions League with 14. But Riyad Mahrez kind of last season as well, and Phil Foden put in some brilliant performances at the back end of the season. Mahrez versus PSG, if you remember it, he was absolutely superb. And when you do look at that Atleti team and the setup that they've got, kind of expect, someone like Riyad Mahrez to really pin René Lodi back and open him up. So for me, for this tie, guys, I'm going to go for Manchester City to progress against Atletico Madrid, which will set us up a all-English semi-final of Chelsea versus Manchester City. On to the other ties, of course, we've got Villarreal up against Bayern Munich, which is obviously heavily weighted in the favour of the Germans. Under Nagelsmann this season, they have scored so many goals, and Lewandowski is the top scorer in the Champions League with 12 this season. He's getting better with age. But I do think with the side of this Bayern Munich team is they have been open in the transition. They have been opened up. You take the performance that Bochum put in, they won 4-2. You take the Gladbach performance, the 2-1 win, but also you had a 5-1 earlier on in the season. Bayern Munich are an absolute beast under Julian Nagelsmann. They score loads of goals, but there is a potential to catch them out. You take the Salzburg goal in the 7-1 defeat, very much came from this kind of diamond shape. Attacking midfielder, 2 strikers, breaking on the Bayern back 3 seems to be a big problem for Bayern Munich this season. Saying that, I do think Villarreal will be too weak in a sense to kind of get through. I was really surprised that they got through, so maybe they will surprise me again. But they beat Juve 3-0. And I think the interesting side with them, obviously they're very much an Unai Emery side, 4-4-1-1. But Danjuma has been the key guy for them. Very much an organised unit with obviously Danjuma, his dynamism carrying them in the counter-attack. He's carried the ball into the penalty area 13 times this season. He's also scored 5 goals, which is more than double of Villarreal's next top scorer in the competition. But I think the Bavarians will be a bit too strong for Villarreal. I think Julian Nagelsmann has so many options in the team. And I think Leroy Sané could have a real big impact for Bayern at the back end of the season. Playing slightly more narrow this season from the left-hand side, but I think he's shown in the Champions League games that he is kind of good in this role. Against Salzburg, a goal, 2 assists, 3 chances created, 2 shots, completed 5 out of 7 dribbles, won 11 out of his 14 duels. Big numbers. I think he'll be really important. But more importantly, I think the return of Alphonso Davies and Leon Goretzka is going to be the reason why Bayern start to kick on. Bayern, like I mentioned before, open in the counter-attack. But I think with Goretzka and Alphonso Davies, that kind of slightly deals with that problem. So we're going to go for Bayern Munich to progress versus Villarreal in the old Champions League. And our final game of the quarterfinals pits Benfica with Liverpool. I was super surprised that Benfica beat Manchester City. Darwin Núñez, top scorer in the Champions League for Benfica this season. His pace, his strength and his size, non-stop movement off the line is always going to be a problem. Scored 2 against Barcelona, could have grabbed 3 and grabbed the goal against Bayern on the counter. For Liverpool, the big sort of stars for them, the front 3, or maybe the front 6 as we can call them now. They've got so much depth in that attacking area with Luis Diaz joining from Porto. Diogo Jota has shown some great stuff this season. But I do feel everything kind of lies on Trent Alexander-Arnold. Massive player for them. Trent is arguably more irreplaceable now within the side, given the depth that they've got in an attacking sense. Leading chance creator in the Premier League this season with 77 chances created. Liverpool are unbeaten in the 10 games in all comps without Salah, but obviously Trent is a problem. Does have a hamstring injury now, so we'll have to recover, but I think he'll be back and he'll be firing. Trent's going to be a big player for Liverpool in the Champions League and be big against someone like Benfica that have played a number of shapes this season. They played a back 5 But against Ajax, they reverted to that kind of back four, throwing both fullbacks forward. And Grimaldo is a star of the show, got the assist for Darwin Núñez from a corner, but his defensive stats very, very good. 6 clearances, 1 block, 1 interception, won 3 out of his 4 tackles, but also created 3 chances, 6 crosses. He is someone that Liverpool are going to deal with, but Mohamed Salah up against Grimaldo, you think his attacking threat will be a bit less. But we are going to go Liverpool through to the semi-finals. They will face Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich will play at home second. So in terms of where we are right now, guys, give you a little recap in terms of what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that it'll be a Bayern Munich versus Liverpool semi and a Chelsea-Man City semi-final. Very, very difficult to call this. But let's talk about that first tie. Chelsea obviously beating City. I'm right. Chelsea beating City in last season's Champions League final. A massive result for them. Big European Cup for them. Kai Havertz was simply sublime in the final. His movement caused City all types of problems. But the big thing for that final, of course, was a lack of defensive midfielder. Rodri didn't play. I don't know why that was the case. I felt his switching of play and his movement and his ability on the ball in that DM zone, too important not to have on the pitch. And City just couldn't grab a goal. You think about this season, they are quite similar. You know, they've evolved again, you'd say. And I think a big player for City in this game against Chelsea could be John Stones. John Stones has been playing at right back for City at times. And I feel like that height at set pieces in an attacking and defensive sense, but also his ability on the ball, I think could be really, really important. You take his performance against Sporting Lisbon in the win away from home where City absolutely destroyed them. And I thought that in that game, John Stones provided a really good tactical role in there, and it allowed those sort of front 5 players and João Cancelo to really, really go. Obviously, Bernardo Silva had a big game against Sporting, and you'd expect him to do something big in the game against Chelsea. I think Bruno's drifted more left than right, and I think that could catch Chelsea out. Kante is going to have a massive, massive game. If Reece James is back, that will change things as well. But I think over 2 legs, I'm going to go for Man City to get through to the final. Back-to-back finalists for Manchester City. Can they do it? Who will be their opponents? Bayern versus Liverpool, our last semi that we need to discuss. This is another one where reasonably difficult to work out who's going to take this one. We know the quality that Bayern Munich have got in an attacking sense. So much depth. But the big thing, what I kind of spoke about was how do they deal with the counter-attack? Liverpool are one of the best counter-attacking teams around. The way that they can transition is going to be very, very important. But I feel with Alphonso Davies coming back, that could reduce the effect of them pushing forward. I just don't know whether Julian Nagelsmann's going to get caught out by being too attacking and just getting undone by like a classic Mane Salah Liverpool counter-attacking display. It's a really difficult one to call. This one, I'd say this is probably the hardest one to call. Who comes out on top of this match? Liverpool have the pedigree. They've got Jurgen Klopp. They know exactly what they're going to do. But they're also looking to win the league. Same as Man City. Will their attention be forced over there? Will Bayern Munich go through? Very, very difficult. I'm going to go for a Bayern Munich win. I'm going to go for a Bayern Munich Man City final. This is intense, guys. I feel like this is intense for me. So Bayern Munich City final. Bayern Munich drawn as the home team for the final. Doesn't mean anything much. And can they do it under Julian Nagelsmann? It's almost like instructor versus the student. Pep versus Julian Nagelsmann. We've seen Pep Guardiola it many times in big games. Overthink things. Don't do what he's doing. Not the default stuff. But I want to see Bayern Munich City. I think that'll be the best final that we could get out here. I think that'll be absolutely sensational. And unfortunately for City fans, I'm going to go. I want to say Bayern Munich to win it, but that's my heart. I think my head says City. I think City win the final. I think City have got such a, well-oiled machine this season. I think the big thing for City as well, I think Jack Grealish could have a big impact in the Champions League at the back end. I really do. And we've spoke about the form of Bernardo. KDB's back in the role. Mahrez is playing well. Phil Foden's adapting to this false 9 position. I just think City, especially after losing the last final, I think they'll come back and they'll win the final and lift their first European Cup. Thanks for watching, guys. Get into the comments below your predictions. This party is getting started. The Champions League is rocking. We'll see you guys soon.